The Holy Gospel according to St. Matthew. After the Sabbath, as the first day of the week was dawning, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary went to see the tomb. And suddenly there was a great earthquake, for an angel of the Lord, descending from heaven, came and rolled back the stone and sat on it. His appearance was like lightning, and his clothing white as snow. For fear of him, the guards shook and became like dead men. But the angel said to the women, "Do not be afraid. I know that you are looking for Jesus who was crucified. He is not here, for he has been raised, as he said. Come, see the place where he lay. Then go quickly and tell his disciples, he has been raised from the dead. And indeed, he is going ahead of you to Galilee. There you will see him. This is my message for you." So they left the tomb quickly with fear and great joy and ran to tell his disciples. Suddenly Jesus met them and said, "Greetings." And they came to him, took hold of his feet, and worshipped him. Then Jesus said to them, "Do not be afraid. Go and tell my brothers to go to Galilee. There they will see me." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, O Christ.
Take a moment, if you will, please, and help me to become as invisible yet focused on what the Lord wants to say through me to all of us, including myself. Just take a moment and pray for me. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, amen. See, if you belong to a lily white Lutheran church in eastern Pennsylvania, that's probably a little bit off base. We're not used to having the pastor say, "Pray for me." But if you belong to an ethnically driven congregation, even as close as the city of Philadelphia, where a man as large as Tony Campolo enters into the pulpit on a day like today, you would hear people actually praying for him when asked to pray. And there would be some, and they would be liken yourself to one who might be 90 years of age and potentially female in gender. They might yet say out loud, "Lord, help him." And I'm saying today, I'm asking you, in your boldest, bravest Pennsylvania German ethnicity, Lord, help him. Thank you. Easter simply is two letters. Easter is. It's that simple. Always has been, always will be. Christ is risen. He is risen indeed, and we all say, you bet. In the second chapter of Acts, and in the third chapter of Colossians, and if we did this Psalm 118, and the two gospel selections today, the 28th chapter of Matthew, and of course then what you would have read in our devotional yesterday, Jen Schlegel wrote on John, the 20th chapter of John, verses 11 through 18. The most beautiful, I think, of all the narratives. We get stuck with Matthew today. We'll do our best. But John is where it's at. Because that's where the text, the resurrection, Jesus, meets Mary. Do you remember the text? I have it here someplace. Really, it's a great text. Listen to this. I'll just go to a few of them. "They've taken away my Lord," she says to the angels sitting there. When she said this, she turned around and saw Jesus standing there, but she didn't know he was Jesus. She did not know. Jesus said to her, "Woman," I get a kick out of that, "Woman, why are you weeping? Whom are you looking for?" Supposing this person to be the gardener, She says, "Sir, if you have carried him away, tell me where you have laid him, and I will take him away." And Jesus simply looked at her and said, "Mary." How many times has that happened to you? All the person needed to say to you was your name, and you knew exactly what they were saying. Maybe punishment, maybe, "Oof, you're being naughty," but also maybe, "I love you." Just in your name being said, it's all the context. And here you have it. And after that, she responds, no longer recognizing this person to be the gardener, but rather Rabboni, which means teacher. Teacher. And she went to embrace him. And he said, "Don't touch me. I've not yet ascended yet. I've got work to do." You see what happened in coming out of the tomb? It's not over. It's just beginning. It's not the climax of the 3 days. It's the beginning of the rest of his life and our life and all of humanity's lives forever. It's the beginning, not the end. Hearing her name is all it took for her to recognize the story's completion is not in coming out of the tomb itself, not the power of the resurrection, but what the resurrection is. And the resurrection is Jesus. There's more to come, he says. Now that I'm risen, go to my brothers. Tell them I'm ascending and meet me in Galilee. We're short-sighted when we see the resurrection as the end, the goalpost. The last Sunday we come to church until Christmas. It's not the end. It's the beginning. God isn't done. Jesus isn't done. There's much, much more to come. Unbroken, never separated, never alone. That's the relationship we have with God. And it's a reminder to us to look for where God shows up. Here it is. Death is not the end. Destruction of a body is not the end. God can create out of chaos beauty. God takes all things and works them together to fulfill the purposes of God. And that is that God desperately shows, undeniably shows love and favor to God's creation. We need to have that kind of hope. When were we ever going to come back to the altar? When were we going to be seated side by side without masks? When were we going to do any of this? 3 years later, it seems like an eternity. Hope is now. Hope is in Jesus Christ. So let's look for where God is now. Is God seated beside you? Is the one beside you growing in their faith? Are they growing to maturity? Are they growing up? Are they working hard at deepening their faith? Well, maybe we find some answers in the next text, in Matthew, the one that we have in our bulletin. The angel rolls back the stone and then sits on it. Now tell me that doesn't sound like a cartoon. 2,000 years ago, God is showing tremendous sense of humor. So the angel rolls back the stone. Can you see this? I can see Spielberg pulling this off. The angel rolls back the stone and then jumps up on it and hangs out for a while. And then the encounter. And this is what Jesus says when they show up. Greetings. Now tell me that's not funny. Now seriously, if you put yourself into the text and not just read it as, oh, I'm reading the Bible, so I read it fairly innocuously, I read it fairly benignly, I read it with no real emotion, but get yourself in the context. Plops up on the piano, lounge singer in Vegas says, greetings. Really? We don't have in this Gospel of Matthew the mystery of the locked room. We don't have doubting Thomas. sticking his fingers in the holes of God. But don't be afraid. Mary was told, don't be afraid. Go tell the brothers. Because, see, the women would have already gotten it. It's the brothers that needed that extra attention. They would have already gotten it, because they did. I'm going to Galilee. I'll see you there. And the next time we see Jesus, we see the end of this chapter where we have those words, the Great Commission. You know those words at the end of Matthew? Please attend church, sit in the pew, and hang out and wait to see if you can evaluate the pastor's sermon. That's what Matthew 28 says. Nobody ever read that? Oh, that's right. It says, go into all the world, teach the gospel to all creation, baptize them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. And remember, I am with you always, even until the end of the age. This story is not a mystery. This story is about worship, and worship is being in the presence of the resurrection. Jesus is the resurrection, is the life. And for those of you who have said yes to Jesus, I want to ask you, then, how you doing with your yesness with Jesus? What's your next step in the journey? What's behind and over the rock? What's behind it? The answer is very, very simple. You are behind it. But what do you have with you on the other side? Do you have, what's somebody going to do for me now? What have you done for me lately? Or do you have your energy, your commitment, your compassion, your desire, your drive to simply say, I want to go deeper. I want to be a disciple. I want to follow Jesus. And if Peter, the ultimate betrayal, wasn't that he said, I don't know the guy. The ultimate betrayal was Peter said, I am not a disciple. Disciples are students. Disciples are learners. Disciples aren't passive. They're active. They take what they learn and they put it into action. Matthew, way to go, buddy. The tax collector. Picky. You want to bet he was the first one to invent an Excel spreadsheet, not that Microsoft guy. Because he would have known it. Do not be afraid. Go tell my brothers. And then the first words and the first thing that they do is they worship. What is worship by my definition? An inability to withhold praise to God. When you can't withhold your praise, that's worship. When you're just participating in a service or passively receiving it, that's not necessarily worship. But when you are on the edge of your seat, when you are on the tip of your toes, when your mouth is there that it has to proclaim, I love you, Lord. Jesus, what you did for me, you did for all people on this earth. Help me be a part of that plan to make sure that all would know you. Come to the fullness of maturity. And a reminder that the empty tomb is simply a call that we are to give witness to it. We're to give witness to it. It's a common tradition, right, that we go to graves. I was going to put a picture of my father's tombstone up, and it's a really interesting tombstone. It's so basic. It has calla lilies on it. Kelly knew when the tombstone was chosen, she decided what the tombstone would be. She knew that's my favorite flower. Here, you pay a boatload at Leaven Goods if you want to buy a calla lily. But if you go to Africa, they're like weeds. They're like dandelions. They're all over the place. And they're beautiful shades. The most beautiful colors, peach, yellow, white, orange. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful shades. Weeds. My dad loved weeds. He didn't burn and stomp them. He thought dandelions looked pretty. The rest of our family, well, we wanted Scots Plus too. So did our neighbors. But to go to a grave, many of you today will go to the grave of a loved one, and you will say, they're not here. They've gone on. They've gone on to the kingdom of heaven. They've gone on. What a beautiful thing to remember our loved ones at their tomb. But see, on my father's tombstone, while it says 1938, 1933, And when he died, my mother's name is right beside it. But it only says 1938, her birth year. And a dash, but a place to be engraved still. She's alive. But I think so is my dad. I think the Spirit of the Lord is resurrected in all of us. I think the Spirit of the Lord can be found in cemeteries. At least there you get a quiet sermon. Is there ever a time to be afraid? Well, think about what these people saw 2,000 years ago. They saw the brutal murder of Jesus of Nazareth. They saw the brutal murder of Jesus of Nazareth. And 2,000 years later, we are still telling the story. By the way, I paused because we have an emergency in the back and they're taking care of it. The story of Acts. I want to read to you from what you heard earlier today. Peter began to speak to the people. I truly understand, Peter said, that God shows no partiality, but in every nation, every ethnicity, every race, every country, every place, anyone who fears God and does what is right is acceptable to God. You know the message he sent to the people of Israel, preaching peace by Jesus Christ, that he is Lord of all. And that message spread throughout Judea. It began in Galilee after the baptism that John announced, and it continues on even today. Peter says, no partiality. All are welcome. Love God. Love all people. Peter gives us what we're to say. To love. So what's behind the rock? What's on the other side of the transfiguration? You. And opportunities for you to step forward and to experience Jesus and God's love in ways you've never experienced before. People of St. John's, guests who are present with us today, know that our congregation is committed to teaching. Know that this congregation is committed to growing you, maturing your faith if you are willing. It's a congregation with the bar set a bit higher. It's a congregation driven to small group ministry where you go and you share texts, good books, you read together, you learn together. And we don't take you for a life experience. We have you do that in 3, 4, 5 weeks. And you come out of there feeling a little stronger, a little bit more knowledgeable, a little bit more confident in your faith, so that you can do what this text says. Go and witness to your faith. Go and share your faith. Over the ham today, share your love for God. Share where you've seen God at work lately. Over the second ham supper you'll have as leftovers this evening, share even more of what God was up to today in your life. This isn't the end of the story. There is no trumpeted, heralding end to this message. Just a very gentle call, inviting you to come forward, to come along, to journey with other siblings in Christ, to learn what it truly means to love God fully, to love yourself in Christ, and to love your neighbors as participants in this mission, to set a world free when it recognizes it's being reconciled to God. Amen.